All right, everybody, welcome back to Strong Principles. My name is Larry Medina.
I'm Wendy Shafransky.
I'm Zach Bragg.
And I'm Rob Delacruz. Today we're going into training with injury and why you should keep on training even though if you are injured.
Right. I think a lot of people use injury as an excuse not to train. Some people push past, what they should, but we're talking about the people that are like, I tweaked my shoulder. I'm not coming to the gym anymore. I need to rest it for 2 months.
And I was just going to go into that about like the difference of an injury and a tweak.
I feel like I'm in an intervention.
You are.
Yeah, so like people have tweaks all the time. It's like, but like a real injury, like a tear or a really bad strain, which is like a small tear, some kind of like major inflammation or tendonitis to where it prevents you from even like doing a movement with that particular limb or leg or shoulder, whatever. But the thing is I don't want to say it's an excuse, but people look for a reason, then they don't want to come in because they can't do what everyone else is doing or what they kind of want to do. But what the thing is that you don't realize like the body works off of signals. And so you still want to keep on sending a signal. Even if you're not training a limb, let's say you break your arm and you put a cast on and you don't do anything. Now, then someone breaks their arm, puts a cast on, but yet you train the other side. It's a 50% difference loss in atrophy, which is muscle loss and bone density loss on there. So what happens is that the body has a signal that's sent, and it's called cross-education, it's a radiation effect, and it sends a signal to the nervous system, and it does come across to the other side. So even if you're not training that limb, just the fact that you're training other limbs and other body parts, it's going to let this atrophy less and lose less strength and muscle. So that's like the first thing. That's really important. But if you don't do anything, it's definitely going to go backwards.
And all the hard work you've done, it takes about 2 weeks to start losing muscle.
Yep, decondition.
10 days to start, losing capacity, conditioning. So, all this hard work you did, then you really take a backslide if you take several months off.
And I think a big reason too is not only we could use the term excuse, but a lot of times people get scared. They get an injury and they get scared of working out because they're worried they're going to re-injure it or something's going to go wrong. And then oftentimes, they go to a doctor if it's serious enough, and the doctor says, "Don't work out."
That's exactly what I was going to say. The doctor telling you that.
Yeah.
Like that's. Yeah.
And I've had clients who had a small injury come up or something, and they'll say, I went to the doctor about it and he said, "Don't work out." And what do you think? And my response is, I'm never an advocate for doing nothing. You always can do something. And so, and like Rob said, and that's the reason why, is that the signal presented to the body when you train can be systemic. And so it causes an entire, body muscle mass signal that can occur. And so even if you are in a cast or whatever you're in or whatever, you can still gain muscle and you won't lose it. And then plus what happens if you decide, all right, well, I'm just not going to work out. Maybe you're eating the same as you were when you were working out, and now you're doing a lot less. So now you're going to put on some fat. You're sitting around a lot more, so everything gets tighter. And then what happens too oftentimes is when people do work out, they actually start to feel better in wherever it was they were injured versus just sitting around. And that spot's like, oh man, I'm always stiff and I'm hurting more versus actually moving. So it's important.
And exercise is so good for your mood and just mental health. So they're, missing out on that part. So, I think there's strategies. Obviously, if, you want to listen to your doctor, maybe you're going to physical therapy, make an appointment with yourself to go to the gym to do your physical therapy. So you're around people. Maybe you do a couple exercises that you can do, jump into the class, ask the coach like, hey, I have a broken leg, but you can do things seated. There's always something that you can do. But yeah, and then that makes the comeback later a lot easier. When you're cleared for full exercise, you haven't been sedentary for several months, and then it just feels like you lost that habit, and it just feels like you're starting over again. Yeah,
because I talk about this all the time where like my job is primarily just being a desk jockey, right? Like I'm just sitting down almost all the time. I do have a standing desk, so I do stand quite a bit, but still, you're just standing, right? You're not like actively moving. It's still like, while it's better for you in a sense, maybe, I don't know. There's new studies that are saying it might not be. Anyways, it just depends on what you read, I guess. But from a standing or just like sitting, but really just staying in a place, what I do find is like I can tell like my ankles get so stiff. my back gets stiff, like everything just gets stiff until I get out there and start moving around, start stretching, you know, being aware. But yeah, I could see where like if you're just sitting around and you know you have a broken whatever and you're just not doing anything, I could see where it comes quick, especially as you age.
Oh yeah, there's definitely with age there's stiffness in tissues when you're sitting around a lot. The doctor one is a hard one to deal with a lot of times. I believe it's getting better because most physicians are like, no, because there's a lot more research out and information. But the thing is it's not only injuries. It's like we deal with a lot of people that like they've had a surgery from something they did outside, and we do like kind of like a corrective exercise / rehab. And the sooner you can get them, the sooner you're moving, the better off you are, and the faster the recovery is. And the other thing is when someone does have an injury, what is it? You kind of make a quick assessment. Is it something you stay away from and you just work on other things? Or is it something that we can still kind of like adjust and we can still work? It's a movement pattern, but just not an exercise.
I think a good point to remember too is if you do have I mean, it's a tough road no matter what. If you have an injury, it's hard to come in and work out. It's the physical therapy is going to be hard. It is a tough road, but the road is 10 times harder if you do nothing afterwards. And so just committing that to yourself that I'm going to do this anyways. And we're not necessarily saying you get an injury, come in the next day. You know, there is some time that you're going to need off. And oftentimes that is what a doctor means. And then we hear that and we say, all right, I got to take 3 months off. When in reality, he just meant, all right, take some time off, you know, which may mean a week, may mean a couple days, but then get back into your routine of doing something, you know. So it doesn't mean necessarily rushing back into doing everything you were doing. You have to change up how it looks, but there's always something you can do.
Yeah, there's always something you can do. Like,
Always.
I mean, you can't reiterate that enough. It's just like, no matter what, we can do something.
Yeah, because the way I also think about this, it's easy to do nothing, right? And so it's easy, like once you get out of that routine, and really that's what it is, right? You want to build a routine, you want to get going. I have a buddy of mine who broke his nose in jiu-jitsu just recently. And he took he said 3 weeks off to, you know, let it heal.
Yeah, I mean, I might be taking.
Yeah. You know,
I get it.
Yeah, and so he took some time off specifically for that because somebody's gonna cross face you, etc. Right?
And probably when your head moves, it probably hurts.
Yeah.
And,
But then he said, and he loves it. He goes every day, and he actually told me, he's like, yeah, I was like, I had to talk myself into going back after 3 weeks because it was just so easy
So
to
you
like.
didn't do any conditioning or working
No.
out outside of jiu-jitsu.
That's all he does. But to that point, right? Like about the movement and the routine, and it's important to keep moving.
yeah, there's definitely a barrier coming back from injury. It depends on the injury, like a little tweak or something like that. But you have a surgery, you really tear something, not even in the gym, but playing a sport or whatever, jumping off the boat onto a dock. There's like a ghost injury. Like the neurological, the mind still thinks it's there a lot of times. So then you end up going ahead and like really favoring another side, and then you can run into a whole host of issues. But yeah, there's a barrier to go. So if you never stop and you're still working out and doing something, then that barrier isn't as bad.
Yeah, because you're still sending the signal, and anytime there's an injury, that signal becomes blunted. And so the more you don't do something, and we're talking about strength training here, of course, but then Rob, maybe you could mention, so how would someone with injury, how would cardio look?
As far as like, do you mean in conditioning?
Yeah, so I think we'd both be along the same lines of it. Like conditioning would actually go down a little bit to a minimum. Yes. If you were someone who's doing a lot of conditioning and a lot of strength training, we would say pay more attention to the strength training, and maybe your conditioning has to come down a little bit.
Yeah, and so with an injury, I mean, we're going a little deeper into it, like still training, but if it depends on the injury, like a surgery or whatever, you want a lot of energy going to repair that.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to be doing your normal 6-7 days a week. So you'd want to like tune it back a little bit and let your body actually use a lot of energy to be able to repair the tissues if you came back from something. And that'll allow you to recover quicker. Also, a big part is eating that people don't realize. Like you go ahead and you have a surgery or you have an injury, you can extend the rehab part of that by months by eating bad and then not doing exercise. Because the body just kind of like stalls, and people do not realize how much length of time you can add to your recovery.
Yeah, when I tore my Achilles, I remember Rob comes to me, he's like, you better make sure your diet's on point. And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
And again, it's a tough road, because when you have a bad injury like that and, you know, you can't walk,
Ice cream sounds so good.
It does.
Bad food sounds good. But making, you know, a committed effort, smart choices. I recommend tracking your foods at that point and just really paying attention to it. And you're not going to be perfect, but the diet is extremely important. Make sure you're eating enough protein. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're hydrating enough. And then make sure you at least getting 1 or 2 days a week extra strength training. Conditioning may come down a little bit.
Yeah. And the people that have had, you know, surgeries or injuries and are, you know, not getting them in our gym, but they're members of our gym, the ones that have had the most success long term after that, and you know, have a couple people in mind, is they took a really vested interest in their recovery. So they not only asked us questions, they asked their physical therapist questions, they look things up, they come in with a plan and they run it by us. So, you know, I'll say, hey, we're doing pull-ups today and you had rotator cuff surgery. Like, do you need a suggestion of an alternative? And they're like, this is what I was thinking. And I'm like, you're spot on. You know, like that kind of just, we always say the people that succeed the most with nutrition workouts, they become like a student of the game. And that's, I think the same thing goes with injuries, just really, understanding what you can and can't do, not trying to push it, but being a student of the game. You know?
Yeah, continuing to educate yourself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing is you just want to keep on sending a signal to the body. It'll recover faster. You won't lose as much. You won't be as far behind, because it's really it's very disheartening starting over. So it feels like you're even like below the last start. And so going from there, if you're at a better place, then it's like, oh, I'm really not that far behind.
Yeah, because if you keep re-injuring, you're just, prolonging everything. Yeah, it would be awful.
Yeah, and muscle mass will continue to develop a lot quicker when the injury's over, if you did continue to train during it. And you know, it is once if you have a person who has a lot of muscle mass and they gained a lot of muscle and they decided to stop working out and they didn't do anything, they're going to put the muscle back on, but it's going to take some time. But if you continue to train, you're going to be far, far more along than you would if you didn't.
One last thing I want to cover before we wrap it up is that it's a lot less to maintain.
Yeah.
So if you do have an injury, just showing up a day or two a week will keep so much more than people realize.
Yeah. So I think the moral of the story is really to get going, right? Get a good base. I think that's really like the thing with everything, right? It's like you have to have a good base. So get a good base, get going, accumulate muscle mass. So when you do get injured,
Buffer.
Yeah. Don't stop. I mean, be smart about it. Listen to a physician. Talk to your strength coach / personal trainer. Come up with a plan and then go from there. Having a plan is always, when someone walks in and they don't have a plan and there's kind of lost, I don't know what to do. Like if you have an idea in your head, then you can take it. They're always better equipped to deal with it.
And one more thought process on the thought process that you were going into. That's another mental component that's tough, because a lot of people, if you have a person who is training maybe 4 or 5 days a week and they were doing a lot, if you can convince them, or if you can convince yourself that even though I'm not doing as much, I can still maintain is huge. That's a tough mental block, because you're like, I'm not going to be able to do the same thing I did. I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to do anything.
Right, the all or nothing.
The all or nothing mentality. And that's a tough mentality to get through, but convincing them that it doesn't take much. You can maintain that muscle mass even just 1 or 2 times a week.
Yeah, because I will say almost everybody's all or nothing.
Almost everybody.
People,
yeah.
Most people are, until you understand it's less than 10% to maintain.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hard work is in building, but once you're there, maintenance becomes a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we're wrapping it up.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. This has been Strong Principles.